Hi, I'm Ben Kim, and I'm terrified. It's a big moment, and I've spent so much time preparing for this. I'm standing up here alone with a big bunch of people and a camera all staring at my face. And I only get one shot at this. But wait, you ask, aren't you the guy that jumps up and down and does those weird dances on stage? Don't you have a microphone in your hand every other week? Are you sure you're Ben? Well, until some unprecedented identity crisis hits, I think so. But I agree that I'm not exactly known for being too timid. So why am I up here telling you that I'm scared to be here? The truth is, I've always been scared. I've always gotten nervous before big moments. I used to cry on the nights before school started just because I was scared that I'd forgotten everything over the summer. Inside school, I would throw up before performances because I was so worried about messing up. Fear was an inhibitor, an antagonist, and an enemy. And that kind of sucked. But as I got older, especially in my years at Appleby, my relationship with fear changed and evolved. Somewhere along the way, I became Ben the performer, Ben the speaker, Ben the guy who jumps around just enough to make you worry about the structural integrity of the floor. I went from a shy kid to who I am today. And so I'd like to share what I've learned during my journey through the depths of fear. So what is fear? Well, let's look at it scientifically first. Fear is a primal emotion which human minds have developed through evolution to alert us of dangers and threats. It starts in your brain, activating your amygdala to tell your body to release stress hormones. The amygdala also activates a flight or fight response in your brain. This starts up the sympathetic nervous system, which activates all of the physical fear symptoms. It makes your pupils dilate, muscles tense, blood vessels constrict, heartbeat fast, palms sweaty, knees weak, arms heavy, vomit on your sweater already, mom's forget. Okay, enough Eminem. But it does make many things happen that could keep you alive if you were a caveman getting chased by a saber-toothed tiger. So then, if fear is meant to protect you from things that could kill you, why does it make you scared of non-physical threats like public speaking? Well, Harvard Business Review says that in prehistoric times, eyes watching humans were usually from predators and were therefore a threat to human safety. When people are watching you, you feel that same sense of, oh no, I'm about to get eaten alive. If those people are your capstone teachers, you might be right. So that checked off public speaking. But what about just trying new things in general? What about talking to people? What about just living normally? Anything that can be perceived as a threat activates a fear response. And that includes threats to mental well-being. Being judged, embarrassed, or rejected all cause some level of perceived harm to the human psyche. And that's likely the reason why I was scared to perform, scared to meet new people, and scared to go to school on the first day of every year. But that's where fear stops stopping you from dying and starts stopping you from doing. In other words, that's where fear turns from a survival mechanism into something holding you back. In an effort to stop any form of pain whatsoever, it stops you from taking any risks, even small ones that wouldn't cause any harm, even when it's straight up irrational. When I was in grade 4, I joined the school production of Beauty and the Beast. I didn't have very many significant lines, and I wasn't any main character, but I was still pretty nervous. The thing that I was most nervous about, though, wasn't the show. It wasn't messing up a line or singing a wrong note. We had to put on stage makeup to make sure the lights didn't reflect off our faces. And I was so scared of putting the makeup on my face because I thought it would be uncomfortable. It got to the point of almost quitting the musical, all for an irrational fear. Now, many of your fears are probably a lot more rational than that. You might fear joining a friend group because of how you might be seen. You might not join a math competition because you're scared of being compared to others. You might avoid joining a band because you're scared of not being good enough to match up to the other people there. Even if you know logically that something bad probably won't happen, being afraid is still a natural response. It gets even worse when what-if scenarios start to play in your head. And I found that what-if scenarios followed everything new that came my way, especially the start of every new school year. What if I forgot everything that I learned last year? What if I forgot my way around the school? What if I got burnt out? What if my friends and I didn't hang out together as much as we did before? What if I wasn't in the same class as my best friend? What if I didn't do as well as the year before? Those were questions running through my head when I went to my dad in the middle of the night before grade 6. I had spent hours tossing and turning in bed, unable to sleep because I had psyched myself up too much for the next day. My dad, who had seen me like this every single year beforehand, responded in the same way as he always did. It'll be okay. You'll get to school, and you won't even remember you were scared. You can tell us all about it when you come back home tomorrow. Which, to be completely honest, was also what happened every single year beforehand. But that year, it wasn't enough to calm me down. I was still scared, and I still tossed and turned. It went beyond logical thought or comprehension. All I could understand was that I was really, really, really nervous for the next day. So I went to my dad again, and again. I was a mess, and he could see it. Then he told me something that changed the way I saw my fear. He said, "It's good that you're nervous. It means that you care. Don't let it stop you from doing what you have to do." I was scared about forgetting things because I cared about the things I was learning. I was scared of doing worse because I cared about doing well. It let me see my fear as something to help me along the way, just as proof to myself of how much I cared and how much of myself I was willing to put into the things I did. My view of fear became a bit less negative, and I was able to go to sleep. But there's that second part to what my dad said. Don't let fear stop you from doing what you have to do. To me and my dad, that was just showing up at school and trying my best. Fear was fine as long as I didn't let it stop me from my duties as a student. That phrase grew to engulf everything that I aimed for. All of my aspirations and dreams would not get held back by my fear. Because if fear came from me caring about something, then I wouldn't let it prevent me from doing the things I cared about. I started Appleby in grade 9 for the 2021-22 school year. Fresh at a new school, telling myself that all the fear I was feeling was just because I cared and not because the size of the campus made me feel like I was playing Where's Waldo where I was Waldo. Slowly but surely, Appleby started to help me grow out of my shell. At my old school, I had tried a few new things, maybe been rejected from a few new sports teams, but when I came to Appleby, I decided to try it all. I picked up the double bass and strings class, even though I had only ever seen a double bass once in my life. I joined the tennis co-curricular, even though I had barely ever played. I, a Canadian-born, half-Korean, half-Hong Konger guy who was unable to speak either of my parents' languages, decided to take German as my language elective. I made all of these decisions because I wanted to try new things, get out of my shell, and act despite my fear. And I kept trying new things. Playing double bass led me to jazz class, which led me to picking up an electric bass, leading to AC Rocks and performing. Even then, it still took some time before I decided I wanted to pick up a microphone and sing something myself. After that, it took a bit of time before I started jumping up and down on stage. It takes stages to get through fears, and it's not easy. There's no guarantee of immediate reward either, but it's extremely fulfilling in two different ways. The first is that I joined the things that I'm passionate about, having a blast instead of worrying about what could have been. The second is that it gives a confidence boost. When I got better between sorting between the fears that I should pay attention to and the fears that stopped me from pursuing my passions, I became surer of my abilities to overcome internal challenges. Being the kid that's constantly nervous slowly fell out of the way I saw myself. So, if you want to play a new sport, but you don't know if you'll be good at it, try it out anyway. Want to write a song, but scared people might not like it? Go for it. Want to apply for a new job that you've been interested in? Don't let fear stop you. It's like an anchor that you have to pull out of the ground before your ship can move. Pulling the anchor up might not be easy, and there's no guarantee that everything will go to plan. You might rock the boat a bit, but it'll all be worth it when your ship starts sailing. But wait, I'm not just going to be the guy from that one internet meme telling you to just completely ignore your fears and do it. Just do it. I'm not that kind of guy, and this is not that kind of speech. Kind of. Don't go out into your world with no fear. That's reckless, and recklessness causes wreckages. Fear is there to get you out of danger. It shouldn't be there to stop you from pursuing your dreams. Fear should not be a foe, but rather an informant. It shouldn't be an adversary, but rather a source of advice. Let it warn you when there's genuine danger, but don't let it take you away from the new hobby you want to try, or the new person you want to meet, or even the new person you want to be. I like to think that dealing with fear is like setting up a campfire. You want to be safe? Clear the area around you and place rocks in a ring around the fire pit. Set the tents away from the fire and make sure there aren't any dried leaves anywhere close. You want to be really, really safe? Douse everything around you with water. Build a wall around the fire pit. In fact, don't even start the fire. But do you want to feel the warmth and light that comes from a fire? If you've done enough to make sure the fire won't hurt anyone, don't let fear stop you. Light that fire up. Light your world up. So after all that, hi, I'm Ben Kim, and inside, I'm still terrified. But I'm here anyway, and that's what matters. Fear is meant to keep you alive. Don't let it keep you from living. Now please join me in singing hymn number 460.